Check that you have all your patterns ready, your back, your front, your straps, your pocket, and your tiered skirt. Fold it into half lengthwise and sew right in the center. Grab a pair of scissors and we're going to trim the seam allowance into half. I'm trimming away half of the seam allowance. Grab a loop turner or any other device that will be able to help you to turn the strap inside out. Here I am inserting my loop turner at one end till it comes out the other. When it comes out the other end, I will hook it onto a tiny bit of fabric and then proceed to turn it inside out. Successfully turn inside out the whole strip. Now let's move on to the front panels. Position your fabric exactly like me. Locate your notches on both panels. With the right sides together, match up the notches and secure with a pin. A little fabric may stick out here at the side, and that is okay. Sew them together with a 1 cm seam allowance. Grab a pair of scissors and you're going to snip through the fabric right in front where the stitches end. So making a snip through both layers of fabric, exactly where the stitches stop. Flip it open, spread open the seam allowance and iron. With the panels positioned same way as me, we're going to join the front and the back panels together. With right sides together, sew from here all the way up with a 1 cm seam allowance. When you repeat this for all other panels, you'll be able to match two panels together like so. Locate the notch for which the strap starts. Place the strap where the notch is. Cover it back up. And secure with a pin. Wrap the strap so that it is neatly hidden in between the fabrics. You do not want to accidentally sew onto the strap later. sewing from this edge all the way to here with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, leaving this gap open. From here down all the way, spreading it open as you sew. Exactly at the part where you stopped your stitches earlier, and continue to sew. Next, we're going to remove a couple of stitches to create an opening for the strap later on. I'm measuring 1 centimeter from the stitch. That would equate to about 3 to 4 stitches. Unpick the horizontal stitches, approximately 3 to 4 of them, as well as the one on the bottom. After removing, you need to back stitch the ones beside them so that they don't continue to unravel. So after removing, back stitch here and back stitch here to strengthen. Again, remove 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back stitch over here and back stitch over here. Repeat for the top panel. So you remove it 1, 2, 3, 4, back stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, back stitch, and back stitch. Next, we're going to trim away some of the seam allowances to remove the bulk. You can refer to the notes, or you can just focus on the parts that are corners and slightly curved. Here I'm aiming to remove approximately half of the seam allowance. Make a slit over here, exactly where the stitches stop. Turn it inside out once you've done all the trimming. You can use a tool or you can use your finger to really push out the corners to get them sharp. Let's move on to the top skirt panel, in which we're going to add the pockets. With the right sides together, position the pockets 6 centimeters from the top. You can either measure or use the notch in the paper pattern. Sew them together with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Repeat this for the back skirt. Push open the pocket towards the outer seam and understitch on the pocket. Sew the side seams with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, front and back. Now for the bottom part of the skirt, sew the side seams together with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. We're going to shrink the bottom part of the skirt so that it matches the top part of the skirt. You can see how much bigger it is. You need to sew a gathering stitch, 2 parallel lines with a stitch length of 5. You're going to match each quadrant up. So it'll be easier if you divide by 4 so you can work in quarters. So this is me matching up 1/4. That's roughly about the size I have to pull. After shrinking using the gathering stitch, I've now managed to shrink the size of the bottom skirt to match the top skirt. Sew them together with a 1 cm seam allowance. As for the hem, you're going to double fold at 0.5 cm and sew it all around. Once you're done, now to know how much to gather the skirt, the top of the front skirt, okay, decide how much skin you want to show over there, right in the center, and then gather it sufficiently so that the side seams match up, it's the same distance. So here, this is the size, the opening that I want in front of my tummy there, and then I scrunched the fabric sufficiently so it matches up. Now if you feel like it's adding bulk to your tummy because it's gathered, you can also choose to flatten the stitch right in front where your belly is. I've secured them up, side seam over here. This is the back panel. I've also continued all the way to the back panel with the gathering stitch, side seam, back panel. My gathers continue all the way, leaving the back loose. Sew from edge all the way to edge with a 1 cm seam allowance. My front top is now connected to my front skirt. When you're satisfied with the gathers and how it looks like, go ahead and overlock the whole circumference of the waist. Grab a piece of elastic and we're going to attach it just where the back panel ends. You're going to sew it right up to the edge, stretching and sewing, stretching and sewing. Use a zigzag stitch to secure it down and then stretch, align it up to the edge, so it'll bounce this way. Stretch, align it up and sew. Remember to stretch the elastic as you sew all the way to the other end. So when you're done, it is very stretchy and elastic. You can trim away the additional elastic if you have any. Now to finish up the elastic, you're going to fold it inwards and sew. Stretch and sew. Fold, stretch and sew. At the front part where you have the opening, fold this down, iron and sew on the top. My back is now completed. So stretching and sewing, stretching and sewing. I use the straight stitch for this. And for the front, I just fold it in and sewed it down. Now for the straps, you're going to use buttonhole function on your sewing machine and sew up a couple of buttonholes at the top and at the bottom. 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. Sew top stitch of 1 cm from the edge of the fabric. This is to create a channel for which our strap can enter. On all 4 panels. Secure your strap. I'm using a bobby pin. You can use a safety pin or any other tool that you'll have. Thread it in. from here, exiting here, hop on to the other side, go in from here, exit from here, jump to the other side, essentially creating a figure 8. Tighten as much as you desire. You can simply tie up the ends and secure them. Double fold and tie it up and sew it down, or you could also just overlook the edge. So I'm going to unhook now the straps. And you can lace them up however you want to. I'm going straight down and then crisscross, or you could do crisscross and then straight down. Again, I'm using my bobby pin to help me loop it through the buttonhole. And there you have it, your dress is completed.